teachers are there out day in, day out, all across our country, literally changing children's lives, inspiring them as well as educating them. So they just do the most amazing job. Every single one of us will have a teacher who has given us that light bulb moment, or given us confidence at a vital time, or even led us onto a path and guided us onto a path. And I had Mr. Ashcroft at my school, who I talk about regularly, who was just an amazing teacher. And there are so many amazing teachers, brilliant teachers across our country. And, you know, our children need them. That's why we want them in school. And it is disappointing that one of the unions, just one of the unions, has narrowly voted to take strike action. But of course what we need to do now is work with head teachers and others who will still be in schools to try and keep as many of our schools open as possible for as many of our kids as possible.
Yes, because it is the largest education union and millions of children will be affected. And it beggars belief, does it not, that once again children will be closed out of the classroom. As you say, lots of people love their teachers. Lots of people won't blame the unions in all of this. They'll blame the government. They'll blame you, the Education Secretary.
Well, possibly, but if you look at the across the piece, there is only one union that's gone out. So there's many, the two head unions, the other teaching union and the teaching assistant union. Well, the ballots, they didn't meet the, they didn't have enough people who met.
Well, there were problems with the postal
so they have
service,
closed
according
their
to
ballots.
some of the unions as well.
This was a 3-month ballot, so 3 months is quite a long time, and many teachers will tell you they were getting many text messages and many sort of messages from the unions. So over 3 months, I think it's a reasonable time to conduct a ballot.
Secretary of State, could you explain the funding model to our viewers and listeners? Because a lot of people will think it's in your remit to write the cheque. But that is not the way it's funded, and it's particularly cruel, maybe, the way it's funded, because if you want to give teachers a pay rise, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's got to come out of an existing school budget. So maybe you have to dispense with a classroom assistant or a school trip or certain facilities within the school or repairs to the school. But if you want to pay teachers more, that comes out of an existing budget. Is that the way it is?
No. So what we have, first of all, is we have an independent pay review body that we are one of the consultees, but there's about 7 or 8, 9, I think, in total, including the unions, including the employers. So we all put together our submission and we input that. And then they will look at several things: retention, recruitment, how many people, other jobs, what's happening in the private sector. So they'll do an analysis and then they'll come out with a figure. We accepted that figure in full, which is 5% for new teachers and 8.9% for experienced teachers. And that's just on the pay bands. Also, what you have within teaching many of our public sector, you have progression pay as well. So based on time or based on promotion within a band. So if you take almost all newly experienced teachers and about 40% of experienced teachers, they'll be getting up to 15.9% when you put the progression pay in as well as the pay award. Now, in terms of funding it, there was a concern from schools and from unions that the pay award, which was higher than schools had budgeted, was not fully funded. So one of the first things I had to do when I started the role on the 25th of October, I had a letter from all the unions saying to fund this pay rise going forward and also to make sure schools can manage with the cost of living impacts, we need an extra £2 billion next year and the year after. So that was the challenge they gave me, and that is what we delivered in the autumn statement. So it is so disappointing because we worked very hard. We were one of the very few departments to actually get additional funding to make sure that we didn't have head teachers having to make those type of choices. And of course now we have still one union who is now putting our children's education and recovery after the pandemic at risk, and it's really disappointing.